we are going to get to the topic of materials in one of the later module. But before we get to that, we will learn how to upload an external texture to a rectangle to have reference patterns on top of which we will be drawn our own pattern. Now, in our case, we will be using a pattern for woman short that you also have in your project files. This type of shots are going to be simple without a zipper in the front, something similar as shown on the photo. We will later connect the top, belt and short together to create a suit. Now, before we get started on that, let's just grab all of our patterns that our top is made of and push little more to the top. So we have room to work with over here. And let's just go and grab our rectangle tool and create a rectangle where we want the short to be. So I am going for something like this. Now we will head on to the object browser, go to fabric tab and create a new fabric. I am going to do that by clicking this add button right here, and we get a new fabric that we can also rename to say shorts pattern. Okay, make some space for property editor. Next step is adding the pattern image under material, and be sure to have the front tab selected, because as you can see we can apply texture for the front, back and sides separately. So have the front tab open and click on this icon right here. Next to texture, we can upload front and back texture. Now we are going to click and drag this fabric we have just created and drag it on top of the rectangle we have just created, and as you can see it looks fine. But since the pattern texture is so small, it's starting to repeat itself. But we can easily fix that with the edit texture tool, and if I click on it, you can see that I am able to reposition the pattern. But before I reposition it, I need to enlarge a bit, and I can do that right here. And if I click on this and drag it outward, you will see that I am able to make it bigger, and this size is perfect for our purpose to just outline this pattern. And we are going to do that by selecting our polygon tool, and we are just going to go over these shapes. You can help yourself by holding shift while you do this to get the straight line, and don't have to be very precise, just going to leave this straight line for now. We are going to curve it later using the other tool. Okay, this is for front pattern, and as you can see default fabric is already applied. Let's take the polygon tool again and let's do the same for the back and leave this straight line. Okay, the back pattern is done. Now all that we need to do is to curve this line, and we are going to do that not with the edit curvature tool but with edit curve point tool, because I think we will need at least 2 points to get this done. Okay, back pattern is done. Let's do the same thing with the front pattern. Okay, both pattern is done. Since we won't needing this rectangle with the patterns anymore, so I can simply delete it, and I can also delete the fabric I have here by clicking it in the shorts pattern. Alright, so now this is the front side and this is going to be the back side, but of course we need to mirror copy the front, so right side of the front and left side of the back in order to continue. So let's do that by clicking our front pattern and Ctrl C and Ctrl R. Press shift to straight line. Okay, do the same thing with the back pattern. Ctrl C and Ctrl R. Again press shift to keep the left side of the back pattern in the same way. Okay, now also we need to connect through symmetric pattern with sewing. Remember, this makes our works lots more easier. So let's just select both of the front pattern, right click and choose symmetric patterns with sewing. Again do the same thing with the back patterns. Alright, now all we have to do is position the patterns around the avatar. Let's identify the back patterns and position them in 3D view. So let's just position like that. Drag the front pattern with the gizmo and position them in front of the avatar. Now remember, if we want to position the back pattern behind the avatar, as so we need select both back patterns, drag them and position them behind the avatar, as so we need to horizontally flip them in order to save the wider side, which is outer side, on the outside. So put this little bit closer and position the front pattern as well. Select the front pattern and position them little bit closer to the avatar. Select front and back pattern and up little bit. Okay, before we move on any further, maybe let's make these patterns maybe make the back patterns little bit smaller in size. So once we have the set out, we can create the waistband and connect everything with the seams, which we will do in the next clip.